Bonjour les étudiants and welcome to this video which is going to help us with conjugating verbs that end in er or in English er. Now there are plenty of regular er verbs which makes our lives quite easy. However, let's go ahead and practice with a common one that we use all the time. Parler, which is to speak. Now, with this verb or any other verb, the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and set up our conjugation. So this way, as we're practicing and we're learning, we're making sure that we're catching all of the conjugations that we need to know for present tense. So first off, we always talk for je, which is I, tu, which is you, singular and informal, il, which is he. In this case, we can also use elle, which is she, and on, which is one. They all conjugate the same way, but to save room, we're just going to write il. Nous, which is we. Vous, which is you, plural and or formal, and il, which is they. This is the masculine form, and that includes, like, if there's only one guy in a group of girls, it's still il. We also have elle, the plural form, and that's about it. So these both conjugate the same way. But just like with il over here, we're just going to worry about the one. So let's go ahead and talk about the endings that we've got going on here. Now you'll notice that we use er as our way of describing the verbs, and that's because each kind of verb ends in different letters. Now in this case, we have er right here, the er. Now what's going to happen is as we're conjugating, we're going to drop that er off and actually replace it with other things. So no matter what word we're working with, there's basically a root and the ending. This part here, the parle, is the root and the er is the ending. So the ending is what we're going to drop off, the root is what we're going to keep throughout. So let me show you how this works. So first thing that we need to write for je is the root. In this case, it's P-A-R-L. So, parle. Now, after this, we need to add an ending to tell people that's je parle and make it all make sense. After all, subject-verb agreement is just as important in French as it is in English. Now, with je, the ending is E. So, we just add an E. So, parle and then E. So, je parle. Now with tu, it's very similar. We're going to write P-A-R-L, and then at the ending, we're going to write an E again, but this time we're going to add an S. Now you might be thinking, why is that? Well, the rule basically sounds like this. We've got Mr. Tu. This is Mr. Tu, his little hat and everything. Mr. Tu. And he walks with his dog, S. It's just a way of helping us remember that Tu, oh wow, that's a sad dog, but that's okay. Mr. Tu and S are always together. So if you have tu with an er verb, often you'll have an S following as well, at least with all the regulars. Sometimes you have an irregular that's a little different, but usually they're not too different there. Anyways, so je parle, tu parles. Now next up we have il. Now just like the other ones, we're going to write our PR or P-A-R-L and then add a e. So je parle, tu parles, il parle. Notice that all the ones on this side are actually very similar. And je and il are actually completely identical. It's a great way to help remember what's going on. And then of course with tu, it's the same except that we add S, the dog. Yeah, you're never going to forget that one. It's okay, I could never forget that one either. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is go over to our plural our plurals. So we've done our singular over here. Let's go to plural. So we, we're going to write parle again. And this time we're going to add a different ending. It's O-N-S. So nous parlons, O-N-S. With vous, P-A-R-L. And then we're going to add E-Z. Easy, parler. So nous parlons, vous parlez. And then we have il. Now for this one, we're going to write P-A-R-L, just again, and this time we're going to add the ending E-N-T. Now I'm going to tell you a sad secret about this. Il parle, and il parle sound the same. So because of the way French is, because they often don't pronounce different things, this one and this one sound identical. The major ways that you can tell which one you're using is actually based on whether or not you have other things going on in the sentence. So whether, yeah, it's all context. It's kind of funky, but especially the further north you go, more towards Paris, you definitely don't say this ENT here. So it basically comes out like il parle. And you can kind of add a at the end if you want. So il parle. But it's basically just like that. So let's go over saying these together first off real quick. So je parle, tu parles, il parle, nous parlons, vous parlez, ils parlent, or il parle. Basically, you don't really say that ending. I know, it's sad. It's okay. Don't worry. Context will help you figure out what's going on. Now next, let's talk about another common ER verb that you're going to end up using an awful lot, and that is aimer, which is to like or to love. Now this one comes in very handy because we use it all the time, and it also allows us to practice something very important, which is what we do when we have vowels at the beginning of words. So in this case, aim, A-I-M is our root, and the ER is the part that we're going to be replacing. So just like before, we're going to set this up. So je, tu, il, and with il, remember elle and on are conjugated the same way. Nous, vous, and il, which is they, or elle, which is they if there's more than one girl, just girls. All right, so with this one, things are going to be a little bit different when we start off. So, je aime, so A-I-M, that would be our root. And then just like with parle, we're going to just add an E here. Now there's one other rule that you need to know, and it's very important, and you'll see it all across French. And that is whenever you have an E, a word that ends in E, like je, and then the next word starts with a vowel, sometimes depending on the situation, and this is one of those situations, they often will actually drop the E from the first word and add an apostrophe in between. So it's not going to be je aime, it's j'aime. Now, this basically will end up looking like one word, and let me write it down here so that way you can see it a little bit better. And it seems a little bit peculiar, but one thing to keep in mind with French is that it's a very musical language. So basically, if it doesn't flow nicely together, they don't want it that way. So this is one of those cases where je aime is just very harsh, it just doesn't flow very well, but j'aime flows beautifully. This is something that you're come in contact with many different verbs. And just keep in mind, with je, whenever this happens, just drop the E, add an apostrophe, and you're done. Now with tu, we don't have to remember any other crazy rules, we just go for it. So tu aime, and remember, Mr. Tu walks with his dog S, so we have S, and then il aime, just an E, because remember these two are exactly the same, and this one just adds the S. Now with nous, we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other one. So aimons. So this one sounds like nous aimons. And notice that the S here kind of blends into that A, so that way it makes it sound more melodic, more beautiful. Vous, we have vous aimez, easy. And ils aiment. Now with this one, we have the beauty of having this S here, which means that as it blends in with the A, sound-wise, we actually can hear a difference. So let's go ahead and practice. Remove that. Oops. Let me remove these. Let's go ahead and practice how to say all of these. So, j'aime, tu aimes, il aime, nous aimons. Notice how I blend the two. Nous aimons, vous aimez, ils zijn. And there you go. That's basically what you need to know when it comes to conjugating er or er verbs. Now, one thing I can tell you, practice, practice, practice all the time. Choose all the regular er verbs you want and just go for it. It's the best way to learn your verbs and to make sure that you understand the conjugations. So c'est tout, that's it, and have a wonderful day.